This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. The Nebraska Supreme Court heard arguments Thursday about the permitting process for the Keystone XL pipeline. One attorney in the courtroom appeared on behalf of the Yankton Sioux Tribe of South Dakota. Jennifer Baker says the required consultation of tribes has not been completed, and surveys of historical and cultural resources were not done for the alternative route approved in Nebraska. Victoria Wicks reports.
Jennifer Baker tells justices that TransCanada did studies on its preferred pipeline route in 2008, and it is those studies the Nebraska Public Service Commission considered when permitting an alternative route in 2017. Baker says surveys identifying historical and cultural resources have not yet been completed on the alternative route.
Without surveys and the results of those surveys, there's insufficient evidence for the PSC to make a determination about how those resources would be harmed. They don't know what's there, so they don't know what harm could happen.
Consultation with tribes is a requirement of the Keystone XL pipeline. Baker tells Nebraska justices that there's a difference in perspective between tribes and government officials.
The United States would argue that they engaged in consultation. The tribes would argue that they absolutely failed the consultation. There was nothing meaningful about it.
Baker outlines what responses are in place when pipeline workers encounter artifacts. She says construction will cease, and the State Historical Preservation Officer, the tribes, and the U.S. State Department will decide how to proceed.
But the biggest point I'd like to make with respect to this programmatic agreement is that it does not apply to the mainline alternative route. It's a site-specific agreement.
Attorneys for TransCanada and the Public Service Commission told justices that hearings were held where tribes and landowners could testify on the alternative route, and that it has been determined that the pipeline will cause little or no environmental damage. The Nebraska Supreme Court will issue an opinion at a later date. Construction on the pipeline is scheduled to begin in spring. For National Native News, I'm Victoria Wicks in Rapid City, South Dakota.
Northwest tribes will get money from the U.S. Department of Justice to fund attorneys who will focus on domestic violence. Emily Schwing has more.
In a press release, U.S. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said holding perpetrators accountable and providing victims with services is a critical part of the department's response to violence against women. To that end, Rosenstein announced funding to support 4 new tribal special assistant U.S. attorneys. They'll collaborate with federal and tribal jurisdictions. In a prepared statement, Colville Tribal Chairman Rodney Costin said the effects of violence against women are far-reaching.
Violence against women and girls not only affects the victim, but also our children, our families, and our communities.
Nearly $440,000 will go to fund attorneys with the Colville tribes in northeastern Washington and the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla in Oregon. Funding will also go to tribes in Arizona and South Dakota. I'm Emily Schwing reporting.
The Native American Rights Fund and partners in a voting rights coalition unveiled a new website this week. VoteNarf.org includes the findings of the coalition's multi-year research on the state of voting in Indian country, which surveyed and documented obstacles Native voters face. The nonpartisan group is made up of national and grassroots organizations, scholars, and advocates seeking equal access for Native Americans to the political process. The Ponca Tribe of Nebraska opened its Prairie Flower Casino this week on the Iowa-Nebraska border despite state and local legal challenges. The tribe says the casino is creating jobs and will boost the economy. The more than 9,000 square foot building in Carter Lake features only slot machines. I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced at the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios by Kawanak Broadcast Corporation. Funding is by Odawi Law Group, provider of Indian law solutions, and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, with support from the Public Radio Satellite System.
As an American Indian or Alaska Native, you help elders, young people, and Native businesses when you exercise your right to vote November 6th. Your vote makes a difference in Washington, D.C. and at home. Go to nativevote.org for more information. Brought to you by Kawanak Broadcast Corporation. Support for law and justice-related programming provided by Hobbs, Strauss, Dean & Walker, LLP, a national law firm dedicated to promoting and defending tribal rights for more than 30 years. More information available at hobbsstrauss.com.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.